Hey, welcome to 2020. This is Cory. I'm here with Benny and Siobhán, and I got a riddle. What does Michael Jackson, Cyndi Lauper, Les Paul, and Muhammad Ali have in common?
IBS.
Maybe. It's very possible. I was going to say Dan Beck. But you know what? You could be right. I don't know.
I'm just saying, like, are you going to refute that?
Maybe they have a lot more in common than what we would think.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe they're all transcendental meditation people.
Yeah, but if you watched our last episode or listened to our last episode with Dan Beck, you heard some amazing stories. And guess what? We get another hour of amazing stories. They don't stop.
And if you haven't yet listened to the first episode, go back and listen, because whatever he's going to drop in this one, he definitely dropped even more in the first one. So even lots more of stories forthcoming.
Why would you say that? That's already 2020ing us. You're saying, like, you know what? This episode's not as good as the last one, even though...
Not at all. I'm making it unclear whether this episode is better or worse than the first one. So it really doesn't matter. People have to listen to both to find out.
It was pretty clear that you said the other one was better. But like,
no, not at all.
Have you ever been in a bathroom stall next to Muhammad Ali?
Can't say that I have.
With IBS.
With IBS? Dan Beck has.
Dan Beck is the man that has been in the room with everyone that did something. That's like probably the best way to describe it.
Not just the room, the bathroom.
Well,
yes.
The bathroom, the room, on the phone, somehow tied to some of the greatest legends in the industry.
Dan Beck. Hi, I'm Benny Goodman, and welcome to this episode of 2020, where even though we might be socially distant, we are certainly socially relevant. And today, we're talking with our good friend, Cory Peza, the bass player. We're talking to Siobhán Cronin, who, as you guys know,
Ben, how many times do I have to explain to you that the boxes are not in the same order as they are in your script?
I'm a guitarist!
He doesn't care.
Oh, it's a box and not a triangle. And then, hold on. But without further ado, so they noticed this, that first off, that my scar in my head doesn't look any different. And Dan's wearing the same shirt. So where we normally do episodes on different days, I'm about to introduce our guest. Because he's so valuable with his time, we were able to bamboozle him into a 2-for-1 kind of show.
So I didn't have to change.
I mean, technically we're going to but we want to be transparent on the show. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest, our honorary host for this week. It's Dan Beck, who's a music legend who's worked with everybody from Michael Jackson to Luther Vandross and Sade to Gloria, Estefan. So I can just read down this: Korn, Ozzy, Jeff Beck, Stevie, Vaughan. But hold on, before we get into anything, I want to talk about what I want to talk about, because it's about me, obviously. We got 2020. You got 2020 into being here. Dan, tell me about what it was like to be friends and to work, or were you even friends with Michael Jackson? And what was that like to work with such a mystical level genius musician?
Starting big.
Like, I mean, I want to know. Let's jump right off the edge, Hunter S. Thompson style.
Well, you know, it's working with him, of course, being, you know, his guy at the record company. You know, you're doing business, so you know it's pretty normal. And you know, he and I developed a really kind of strong bond back in the 90s. But I first met him in 75. And I was, when he was first signed to Epic with his brothers. And he was a teenager. I was like 25 years old. And the first real thing that I did with him was I took him to the National Black Caucus dinner in Washington, D.C. with a bunch of senators and
5 times fast.
And I also took him to the zoo and spent at the National Zoo in Washington, D.C. Did
you introduce him to the orangutan? Was that you? No, was that your fault?
We spent 4 hours sitting at an aviary. It was like an outdoor round aviary, and he watched those birds for 4 hours.
I just made Siobhán fall in love with him, because Siobhán
it was this
mainly owls.
Now, this
little
is
known fact.
It was a hot day. There's no cell phones, you know, There's nothing. So I'm just hanging out, just, you know, for like 4 hours going, I'm
birds.
I'm going to faint. Michael was into these birds for 4 hours. It was great. But and I actually didn't deal with him much when they first signed because they didn't have a record ready. And about a year into that process, I left and went in the management business, and then came back. And his product management was on the West Coast. And a dear friend of mine, Larry Stessel, who is my counterpart, we worked together for years. I was his boss. He'd be my boss. It was all the corporate intrigue.
Same people that. On the way up as it is on the way down.
That's it. So Larry product managed, Off the Wall and Thriller and Bad. And then Larry left.
What records were those? I mean, sorry, Off the Wall and
Off
then
the Wall, Thriller. Yeah, and
hold on, do I have to Google those? Are those Michael?
You might.
Michael Jackson records,
just so you don't miss them. Yeah. So my role was really kind of as part of the Epic marketing team. I was kind of like second tier and all of that, and. But Larry left the company just before the Dangerous album came out, and Dave Glue.
Was it too dangerous for him?
It's, I guess, and Dave Glue, who was chairman of Epic at the time, walked in my doorway, and I was on the phone, and the chairman of the company is there, and I saw. Hey, I got to go. I'll talk to you. Boom, I hung up, and he said, Dan, you got Michael. And he walked away. And this is about 8 weeks before the Dangerous album came out. And I thought,
oh my God.
I have no relationship. I have no relationship.
Can I just pause this for a second? Yeah. Because I want people to know, because look, Dan talks about this again so humbly, which is just so, because I'd be like, I was killing it with Michael. But like, I remember staying home from school sick, and they had Michael Jackson days on MTV. Like, so remember, like, I know people now like that listen, like the millennials and the zennials and the generation Z's or whatever. And they listen to Spotify and all that. But back then, you listen to the radio, you watch TV, and then your parents played it for you. And that's what you did. And Michael Jackson had whole days appropriated.
Weekends. We did Michael Jackson weekends on MTV, right?
In a fucking spacesuit and blasted out of it. And I remember seeing that as like a child and thinking to myself after he had already done the moonwalk, and like kids are crying because they're seeing him for the first time. Like, there is nothing cooler than that. And
is that the inspiration for Star Set, Siobhán?
It very well could be.
That is when Dan walked into the picture, because that's about Dangerous. So I just want people to understand the climate.
There's like two halves to Michael's life and career. And it was like the first half was mega superstar from the time he was 5. Until then he rolled into being this solo act to the point of being the largest superstar ever on the globe. He was moonwalking on the Motown 25 special, the Thriller videos, all that stuff were totally, groundbreaking. And, and then things started to crumble. And that's about the time that I was assigned to handle Michael.
And that's what it got.
It's so interesting.
And I knew this was going to be intense. And it was. I mean, it probably took a couple of years off my life. It was that intense. And not because of Michael. Michael was the easiest guy to work with in the world. He was a guy that totally encouraged you. He was like, if you had an idea, he's the first person. Dan, I love that idea. Oh my God, did you hear what Dan said? That's a great idea.
That's amazing.
And what does that make you do? It makes you want to do more. And Michael had that kind of energy and passion and kind of gratefulness that, what did that do? That brought on the biggest directors in Hollywood, that brought on the best street choreographers. It's like, he attracted people because of his enthusiasm and his hard work. I mean, the guy danced.
Before we move on from that, and then maybe Siobhán and Cory can talk about it too. But like, so many people have vilified this guy. But I just want to say that when I was growing up, there was like everybody, and then there was Michael Jackson. Like, I mean, like, you know, like I remember he played the Super Bowls. I'm not a sports guy, but the first Super Bowl halftime, he like shows up and then like he's somewhere else. And I remember the suspension of disbelief. Like I didn't know at 7 that and then he have a double.
And then he popped out of the toaster. It's,
right. But what I'm saying is I remember seeing that.
And
holy crap.
And then he held his position in dead silence for like almost 2 minutes.
But the thing is, what I'm trying to say is that everyone
stadium stopped. It was like,
and you made me again have the goosebumps that I remember Michael Jackson giving me all of my life, just making me happy, and all the stories I heard from everyone that has met him or seen him or been influenced by him. And I'm a DJ too, so when I go and play his music, you know, at one point, like people weren't into it, but like even now, like I've just slipped things back in and nobody cares because his music is so good and his stuff is so good. And he was such a genius and everything he did for the music world was so insurmountably unbelievable, despite maybe he's a weird, eccentric guy. Wouldn't be the first in the music industry that it's so nice to hear from. And again, I want you to continue on, but how nice to hear the good things. Finally, because everyone wants to find the crap and all the bad things. Yeah. And it's like, I love hearing the fact that he's excited about your ideas because, man, my mom isn't even excited about my ideas. I couldn't even imagine what it would feel like if Michael Jackson walked into a room and said, you know what, Benny came up with a good idea. And then this moon walked out and we're all done.
Well, and, you know, you talk about the Super Bowl and basically I was involved in structuring all that and dealing with the NFL. And then that day I hired NFL Films who, you know, would film all this, you know, those classic behind the scenes football stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, you know, a concert is a sports event to me. You know, it is an athletic event. And I went to Phil Tuckett from NFL Films and I said, and Phil had done a couple of videos for me. He did a video that I wrote the script for Stevie Ray.
Can we pause for a second? Vaughan. Some videos for you? Like, so Dan, what videos have you done? Just for some background so our listeners and viewers can understand.
Girls Just Want to Have Fun, Time After Time.
What? Wait, hold on. I didn't even know this. Wait, you did Time After Time?
We were talking about this right before you got on. He mentioned it. I was like, oh my God.
Time After Time. Hey, Vinny. Or Benny, it's listen to me.
I don't even care if you call me by the wrong
You're
name.
Vinny now.
You can call me whatever you want. As long as it's spelled right on my check, sir.
Time After Time, which I co-wrote with Cyndi, the script for the video, not the song, you know. But if you watch that video, she and Dave Wolf kiss at the end when she's leaving because she's a strange person in a small town and she leaves. I'm sweeping the floor behind them.
Oh, wow. Okay. I have to go back and watch it.
I might have to pop that in the.
You should.
Yeah.
We got to get the clip in here.
Was, even back then, he was still cleaning up after his own artist.
You got it. I
have a whole floor you can clean at my house too, Dan.
Give me a broom. Give me a broom.
Oh my gosh.
So let's see. Living Color, Cult of Personality. Actually, I went in the studio.
Isn't that one? Was that Longview Farm Studios in North Brookfield? That was in Massachusetts, right? Isn't that where they recorded Living Color?
Yeah, they did. What is it? Longwood
Studio?
Farm Studios. Something that, you know.
That's where Carve. So that's where I met Dan back in the day. Was Carve. We recorded at Longview Farm Studios.
But we shot that video. The video was shot like in Harlem, and you know, and then you know, kind of really the gritty areas of New York City at the time, and the first edit was horrible. It looked like somebody had driven through Harlem as fast as they could. Wow. You know, and gotten
That's
out.
Probably how you should have driven through Harlem at that time.
So I went in the studio with just me and the editor, and we re-edited the video. The editor was great, and we just changed it from what the director wanted to do. And
wow.
you know, luckily, you know, you don't know whether you're right or not, but it worked, you know. Indigo videos, Indigo girls.
You've already won us over. Hold on. I only said that to prove a point so that people would understand.
Right, okay,
I didn't mean to like take this a different world. So you already did videos.
All right,
that
so
I
Benny,
grew up loving.
you're being overruled now. Okay, so let's go back to the original point that was,
So
we were talking about Michael Jackson, that you hired the NFL video team.
Right.
That's where we were
so
okay.
I hired Phil Tuckett, and we, you know, not only did we have the NBC cameras shooting, but we had the NFL films people filming behind the scenes. And so I got to the stadium. I got the Rose Bowl about, I don't know, 9 o'clock that morning. Michael showed up like at, you know, like 11 o'clock. And he was with the little, he was a big TV star.
Jonathan Taylor Thomas, Macaulay Culkin, Corey Haim,
black kid.
Urkel, was he with the Urkel kid?
No, it was before that. Anyway, so anyway, Michael shows up backstage. There's like nobody around. It's just, you know, and I'm back there with my
Malcolm Jamal Warner from
no, before that. It's what was the show with the white guy and the black kid, the older guy, and he had, I don't know.
This is starting to sound divisive, Dan.
Yeah.
We'll have to look it up. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe we can do some show notes.
Anyway,
find it.
So we're just hanging out backstage, and it's, you know, it's hours before the Super Bowl. You know, the Super Bowl starts, you know, kind of East Coast, you know, so it's, so we're just hanging out back there, and Michael shows up, and it's like, Dan, what are you doing here?
Wait, what you talking about, Willis?
What?
What you talking about, Willis? That guy?
Yes.
You'll
think of it.
I'll think of it. What you talking about, Willis? The little short guy.
Yeah.
Short guy, yeah.
And what we had done is we had gotten 3,000 volunteer firemen, and they had in the tunnels leading to the field, we had all these racks that were on wheels to go out to build the stage.
Right.
So they built that stage. 3,000 volunteer fire people built that stage in like 3 minutes.
Wow.
And but they raced this stuff out, you know, on wheels through the, you know. But anyway, this is hours beforehand. Michael and Lewis, what was his name?
Emmanuel Lewis.
Yes, yeah. They're running around playing tag on all these, you know, all these.
Well, he's like, I'm friends with Michael.
You know. So anyway, we shot the behind the scenes. This is footage that to this day has never come out. It's sitting in the vaults, and we covered the whole thing. I was on the field shooting.
Well, who owns this footage, Dan? How do we find this footage? If you know of it,
footage is in the NFL Films archives in the vaults. And
so what's the?
I've actually talked to Sony and the estate that they should do something. They should do. That was the first big Super Bowl halftime.
Well, can I also tell you what also needs to come out?
That's legendary for sure.
That's legendary, but we're going to even move on to other legendary things because there's so much legendary stuff to talk about with Dan Beck. Like, there isn't time in the world. I feel like I'm getting 2020, not getting enough time with him. But that said, I want to also know about, so I found out, because as you see, I have a Freddie Mercury record behind me with Queen. I'm a huge Freddie Mercury fan, and I found out that there's a song called State of Shock for those that aren't, you know, deep Michael Jackson fans, but it came out with Mick Jagger. But the original version has Freddie Mercury on it. And I'd like to know. Yeah, but did you know anything about why this didn't happen? Because I've heard all kinds of lore, but I heard something about a chimpanzee on one case, like, you know, hey, Freddie didn't want to work with, you know, Michael because he didn't want to work with zoo animals, and then Michael didn't like the cocaine.
Yeah.
Is that accurate? Does that have a ring of truth?
I only heard vaguely that they just didn't, chemistry just didn't work, you know, just lifestyle chemistry between Freddie.
You don't say.
You know, they just, it just didn't connect, for whatever reason, and that's third or fourth hand for me,
By the way, they did 3 songs, and I wait for those songs to come out along with the Emmanuel Lewis Super Bowl tag scenes. Like Lost Symphony, just so you know, our sponsor, LostSymphony.com, chapter 1, LostSymphony.com. We'd be happy. You could tell them at Sony, Dan, that we'd be happy to custom tailor music that would go perfectly along with Emmanuel Lewis. Maybe when he hits stuff, Siobhán, you could do a stab with your violin, because she's very talented, Dan. I don't know if you know, but Siobhán, and I'm sorry that we haven't.
Well, there are rumors out there about that. Yeah, right.
Like the Star Set, tell us your Star Set, Michael Jackson. Well, she toured with Hyde, which is like the Japanese Michael Jackson, isn't he? Like,
yeah, kind of. I mean, he's a little bit more like rock metal, I would say, but he is at the level of major pop star. Yeah.
Well, tell us though, because I didn't know anything about it until I Googled it. But explain to the plebeians like myself that have, been huffing the glue and breathing back in the carbon monoxide from their N95 masks, who Hyde really is. Like, how big of a deal is it comparatively to Michael Jackson? Because we heard Dangerous. You're now on tour with Hyde.
I mean, I'm sure that Michael Jackson, hands down, was more wide reaching. I mean, I think his phenomenon was just like across the globe, people singing his music. Hyde is a little bit more of a niche in the sense that he does have some music in English, but a lot of it's also in Japanese, so.
But in Japan.
Oh, but in Japan, if you go to Japan, I mean, he can't be out on the street. He can't go to like public places without being.
Is he like Kanye West level? Give me like Kardashian.
Yeah, I would say
some low end circa 2003.
Yeah. I mean, any like big celebrity like that, absolutely. But it's funny.
Am I wrong? Is that the guy that played the Middle East while you were out here recording?
Yes. Yeah.
So, that's hilarious. So he's this absolute rock star. Can't go outside in Japan, and played
then in the US,
he's
our
opening
basement
venue here in Boston.
Right. Yeah.
And then we were too busy to stick around to see him too. I think we were like, oh, I'm sorry, man. I had to DJ a wedding. Yeah. I remember like you invited me, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't see the biggest pop star in Japan because I have to go DJ someplace down the street.
So that's actually kind of an interesting concept. Dan, maybe you have some experience in this. Is there any artists that were maybe regionally or even nationally acclaimed or huge, but maybe couldn't break that wall going international?
Yeah. I actually was involved with a group called Gasoline from Denmark. And they were like the Beatles. They're prorated wise. This is back in the mid 70s. They probably, were selling the equivalent of what would be 20 million in the US in Denmark. They were superstars.
Lars Ulrich is going to get so mad from Metallica that you're trying to say that anything is bigger out of Denmark than him. So he's only 5'1".
Well, anyway, Kim Larson and this group Gasoline were huge. And so the US Epic company decides to bring them to the US. And they have somebody working on their lyrics to anglicize them. They bring them over here. The A&R people meet with them, and they say the lyrics don't make any sense.
Is this already recorded? Is it like actually recorded?
Oh yeah, they thought.
So they recorded the whole thing.
This record is going out tomorrow.
Oh my God!
There's a version of this record that's just like bananas.
So they're like English translation.
Yeah, the translations, right?
So yes, exactly, and it just didn't make any sense. So Steve Popovich, who was head of A&R, who found Meatloaf, who's this incredible legend in the business. He passed away 6 years ago, I guess. A dear friend, a mentor of mine, calls me up. I'm head of publicity at the time, and he said, "Dan, come up here. Come up to the office." So I go up to the A&R department, and he said, "We got this album. We got this band here. We brought them here, and we're releasing this thing. Doesn't make sense. Here, go write the lyrics for this album, and we'll have the band come over and meet you tomorrow."
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God. So the band comes over, they're like, who's this guy? It's like, and as it turned out, we hit it off, and some of the songs I just helped doctor them, and there were a number of songs that I did a big rewrite on, and we put the album out, and we got incredibly great reviews. Chris Gow and the Village Voice and blah blah blah, Rolling Stone, Grio Marcus, everybody. and the album, well, they came over to tour and they opened for Grateful Dead side band, and it was like the worst coupling in the world. And these poor guys in Gasoline came out the first show at Passaic Theater in New Jersey, and they weren't 2 lines into the song, and people are throwing things.
Oh God! Oh,
and then they're doing a show the next night in Central Park, and the same thing happened.
Wow.
What did your lyrics say, Dan?
And what it was, the agent had just put them in a totally wrong situation.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So the band was devastated, went back to Denmark and said, we're recording in Danish,
Yeah.
and we'll never go back to America, or we're done trying to do that. So, but coming into the next album, they called me and said, hey, why don't you come over here and, maybe we'll put a song in English or 2 songs in English on the next Danish album. We had fun working with you, blah, blah, blah.
Making friends.
And the producer was Roy Thomas Baker. And Roy and I had become
Bohemian
friends.
Rhapsody, everybody. Bohemian Rhapsody.
And
Clean.
this was exactly at the same time
RTB.
that he was having success with Bohemian Rhapsody. He had 2 bands. He had Queen and he had Gasoline.
Wow.
Unfortunately, I wasn't writing lyrics for Queen.
Hold on, but Dan, you told me a story because we play a game sometimes where I just throw out random people at Dan and see if he has a story about them. So I said Bono.
Right.
And this actually comes back to this story.
It does.
The only reason I know about this story is because I asked him about Bono because I'm like, who's the biggest guy other than like Michael Jackson that he probably hangs out and smokes stoves with? Bono. So can you tell me your Bono story? Because I want to know.
Yes. So Gasoline breaks up in 1979, and the lead singer, Kim Larsen, goes on to become the Bob Dylan of Denmark. He has 50 albums.
Yeah.
Almost all.
Like being like the tallest midget, Lars Ulrich.
And it's all in Danish, and he really doesn't do any English stuff, right? So Kim passed away about 18 months ago, and it was a huge thing in Denmark, that he was a god there. So as it happened, U2 was playing in Copenhagen a couple of days after Kim passed away. So they were doing 2 nights there, sold out, 18,000 people, right? So which
is, by the way, like a third of the country, isn't it? Something ridiculous like that.
Oh my gosh!
There's like 75 people in Denmark.
It's small, yeah. It's a pretty big city, though.
Size of Rhode Island,
So in the middle of the show, the second night, Bono starts the show. They pull up a picture of Kim, and the crowd goes completely bananas. And Bono starts reciting this lyric, and it's mine.
Oh, wow.
From this song that has never surfaced in any way in 40 years. And he recites the whole first verse of the song, a song called This Is My Life. The song then became Kim's legacy song. The last 18 months, we've had almost 25 million Spotify spins on the song.
Isn't that like 7 times the country?
Yeah.
Like
probably.
7 times everyone in that country has listened to that song, Dan.
So,
that's incredible.
But it's such a bizarre story, and, it's just, you can't plan those things whatsoever. I go back to the fact that poor band, they were a great band. They got introduced in the U.S. the wrong way. And so nothing happened.
And that's all it takes is just that one, first impression to go wrong.
And it was done. It was like, there was no chance. It was over, and
they got 2020 back
they got 2020 to 1970, whatever.
They were pioneers of being 2020.
It's like being Metallica, but then opening for Jethro Tull. Wait a minute.
So
that's so interesting. You really do have to understand how to pitch an international band to an American public. Because even when I think we were talking about Hyde, about my experience going to Japan, if you think of an American that hasn't been to Japan, you might not understand at all why the things that are cool there because you just don't get the culture. It's like,
Right.
it's like you bring something that's from 10 years ahead of today and you bring it here and people are like, this is weird. This makes no sense. Yeah. But then in 10 years, they'd be like, oh yeah, that's super cool. And that's kind of what happens in Japan. Everything is just so like progressive, ahead of the game. And that's why people here might, you bring a Japanese band here.
They're smarter than us in Japan?
Well, I think they're generally, they're generally more advanced. I mean, if you go, it's like
video games have always been better. So, I mean, like, let's just start there.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. Look at K-pop right now. There have been tours through the U.S. that are like sold out tours.
I'll have you know, Dan,
we don't even know about. We don't even know about.
Guitar in Japan. Mr. Guitar in Japan, he has his own television show, Marty Friedman, Chapter 1, Lost Symphony. We have our own representation, and his beautiful, lovely, super talented wife is also a cellist, and she plays on our record as well. And she is as well from Japan. So all of our Japanese friends, Mr. Guitar himself, plays on our song Requiem.
All of you Japanese people living 10 years in the future, teach us.
10 years in the future.
But speaking
now, they'll get it.
Well, it's so funny because, when I went to Japan, you saw people it's a fashion statement to wear these masks, and you're wondering like, why are people wearing masks? And this was like what we were there over a year ago at this point. And now it's so funny. You walk around the US, I'm like, you people.
Another thing we're behind on.
I was like, the Japanese were way ahead of this trend ages ago. They knew about this.
So Dan, when you're marketing a band and you do have to make that jump to different cultures and different like areas around the globe, do you narrow down to the commonalities between all these different cultures? Do you try to I don't want to say make vanilla, or do you customize your marketing towards every single different outlet, or do you try to find something that could relate, on a human level to everyone?
I think fundamentally, at least this is the way we did it in the past, and I can't say that that's how it's done now, particularly because of how amorphous streaming is, so it's a different thing, because then we had to release it. We'd release it in the US. Maybe that release wouldn't come out for 6 months or a year later in Europe, so it was a different approach to it. But we marketed for our own country. We marketed for the US and traditionally, through the last 50 years, pop culture came from America. And so that was what they were looking for in Europe or Australia or Japan, Pacific Rim. And so if we were doing it right here, then we would go solicit our partners, our countries, the territories around the world. We had people whose job it was to try to connect the dots,
Sure.
and those people would be coming back to me and saying, hey, we need X kind of tool for Europe, or we need this for Japan. Can you do this? Like the Super Bowl with Michael Jackson. I got Michael in a suite in New York, and we spent 4 hours having him do radio spots for a Super Bowl ticket contest.
Nice.
And we did it where we were giving these tickets to radio stations all over the US. So, here it was, Michael Jackson actually reading the spot. And so these stations were loving it. It's like, hi, this is Michael Jackson on, WMMS in Cleveland. And they were excited. So I realized that I actually put this together overnight, and I got Michael into it on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. And so I was doing this taping Wednesday morning. Tuesday night, I called the person from International, lady by the name of Lisa Kramer. And I said, Lisa, I'm doing this. Could you do, could your territories do radio contests like in Sydney or Tokyo or Moscow or, Mumbai, whatever. She said, let me get on. She went out to the countries. By the next morning, I had copy for all these radio stations around the world. and we had Michael read those.
The
And we
genius
sent
of
those
Dan
out.
Beck
And then we
continues.
had ticket contests. So at the Super Bowl, we had all these ticket winners coming in. So when I was dealing with the NFL, I was in there trading for tickets. They wanted, could you give us 103,000 albums so we can give away at
And I think you're being a little bit insensitive because we trade our music, like Cory and I at least, for like bread and sometimes beer. And we get people that sometimes like throw things at us. And every once in a while, like there's a drunk girl that knows the lyrics to Hootie and the Blowfish that we sing their songs. But like, can you please just be a little bit more sensitive to the fact that while you're talking about Michael Jackson and the NFL, that maybe some of us here, in at least this room, we're living in a real world. In a real world.
Okay, I like hearing about this lovely like magical world that Dan's talking about. It's
well, the funny part is, I'm also again looking on the sheet, and behind you is a Les Paul. And what does Dan have on his sheet? That I don't know how the fuck he's again old enough, other than Les Paul was 700 years old, to talk about a Les Paul story. But he has a Les Paul story. So why don't you tell your Les Paul story, Dan?
All right. Well, it's not that interesting, but I will tell.
Except that it's just the greatest guitar player from the greatest guitar ever. Whatever. Who cares?
Inventor of multi-track recording.
But
Robert Fripp was cool too.
Les Paul, actually, we tried to do a catalog deal with Les. He owned all his catalog, and which is very smart. And Les, as a business guy, was very wily. And so this guy, Tony Martell, who ran the what are called the associated labels, is where we made deals with people that owned their own label, and we would do their marketing and distribution. So, Gamble and Huff, Philly International, labels like that. So we were trying to do this label deal with Les, and I got put in the job of going to what was the club, Fat Tuesdays or whatever in New York. And I went to that club every Monday or Tuesday, whatever Les played. I went there every week. And sat in, and the room was, maybe 80 or 100 people could fit into that room.
Nice.
Jam packed, and he had it, and it was wonderful. And I spent like 6 months, like, hey, Les, how you doing? I felt like I played in his band. He was doing a solo acoustic thing, So by the way, Benny, you're talking about, well, I'm in this elite thing and this whole thing, and you guys, I've been thinking of like asking you guys if I could be the lyricist for Lost Symphony.
Yes.
There's this guy named Alan Walmart.
Since you're an instrumental band, I figured I'd get the job.
No, but you could definitely add. Wow.
You know that we steal all our lyrics.
I probably can't even get that job. It's like
it's an easy job in this band.
It's ageism. It's a big problem in today's society. But hang on, do you guys all notice this about Dan? Do you have to be like, and I don't mean like make this reference, but like Rain Man, like on a Tuesday in 1971, I was on 42nd Street, and Les Paul walked out, and he was wearing light shoes, and I don't like everything you say. I don't remember. Siobhán was saying this, so I will speak what Siobhán said. She said that it just goes out of her brain. Like, I don't remember what I did this morning. And you're like, 47 years ago, I was just making toast. And all of a sudden, Joe Walsh just threw the thing on TV.
But Benny, listen, totally passionate guy. And I'm in these situations where I'm pinching myself and say, does somebody see that I'm here?
Yes.
I can't now.
That's so interesting.
I can't believe I'm witnessing this. So all of those things totally were galvanized in my mind.
Dan, I have a question for you. Just sorry, Siobhán.
No, it's okay.
I want to hear what you have to say, but just to bring back, we spoke with Richard Shaw, guitarist of Cradle of Filth.
Yeah.
And I think one of the coolest things he said was that he just wanted to play guitar for a living. So he was doing musical theater, and he was doing these like smaller bands and these gigs, and he was pumped. He's just like, holy crap, I'm doing this for a living. And then through a series of, yada, yada, yadas, ended up playing Download Festival in front of 100,000 people. And he mentioned on the podcast that he had to sit there, step back and go, okay, this is cool. This is what I wanted to do. So as someone who's had such an illustrious career, along the way, were you able to like say like, holy shit, I'm doing this?
Oh, no question. So many times. You know, I mean, you know, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame dinners, particularly early on when they said, we're not going to broadcast this. This is going to be private to the people in the room, you know. And some of those moments, you know, were unbelievable, you know, to see the people on the stage, you know.
Prince and Tom Petty doing While My Guitar Gently Weeps. Were you there for that? For the Prince and Tom Petty? Prince and Tom Petty played While My Guitar Gently Weeps. Were you there for that one? That was
I don't think I was there for that one.
Oh, okay.
You know,
sorry.
But I was there.
That was the most memorable one.
Yes, so
I'll tell you a great story about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame dinner, which has nothing to do with music. It's so I go to the men's room, right? And
I like where the story's going.
And I'm at the urinal.
2020-ish.
And I'm at the urinal, right? And the guy next to me is Muhammad Ali. And so I say hello, you know. He said, hey, yeah, how you doing, you know? And then the men's room there was, you know, one of these classic, beautifully Art Deco, you know, big bathrooms. So anyway, we go over to wash our hands and the whole thing, and we continue to talk a little bit. And then I realized that he's with a guy that I work with who was in the Black Music A&R department. So Bernie, this guy, says, oh, hey, Dan, you met Ali, you know, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. You know, so we start talking, and he says, oh, Dan does all the marketing at Epic, blah, blah, blah. And Muhammad Ali says, wow, I always wanted to visit a big record company. And I said, you want to come over tomorrow? And he said, yeah, I got nothing to do. So I'm looking at Bernie. My eyes are about popping out of my head. And I said, Muhammad, we have a marketing meeting at 1:00. And I said, there's like 20 people in the room and the whole thing. I said, if you want to come over then and just walk in and surprise everybody, it'd be really cool. All right. You know, so he looks at Bernie like Bernie's going to, you know, take care of getting him there and the whole thing. So anyway, so that morning I ordered a photographer. I need somebody up there. I don't know what's going to happen, but if he shows up, I don't say anything to anybody. And I had this meeting that started at 1:00, which is a lousy time to have a meeting because everybody wants to eat. They're going up to the cafeteria. They're bringing down chili and popping open the can, and it's spraying all over the room. You know, it's just, it's a bad time to have a meeting, you know? So
no meetings at 1:00, Cory.
So nobody shows up at this meeting on time. So 1:00, people are milling in. We finally get everybody there. And I said, you know, can we start this meeting on time? You know, could everybody just have a little respect for each other and get here on time? We could actually do this meeting and, you know, hey, we'll get it done and we'll get out of here, you know? And so everybody's, you know, so I said, what do I have to do? I have to bring in an enforcer or something, you know, to get people here on time, you know? And I said, yes, you know, so let's get on with the meeting, blah, blah, blah. So 15 minutes later, there's a crack at the back door of this small conference room, and it's Bernie, and he's looking in. So I said, excuse me, I have to step out for a minute. I'll be right back. So I walk out. There's Ali, and oh man, so good to be at a big record company. You know, it's like got in the door, you know, downstairs. So I tell him, I said, you know, I got this meeting, and people keep showing up late. So I said, it'd really be funny if when you walk in, that you say, did everybody get there on time? You know, so anyway, so great. I said, I'll go back in, I'll get it started. Just come in a couple of minutes. So I said, okay, sorry, I had to leave. I had to meet somebody for a second, you know, blah, blah, blah. We get the meeting going again. And the door opens and Muhammad Ali walks in, and people were like frozen, like paralyzed, you know, like, oh my God, you know. And he said, and this is when his Parkinson's was starting to get to be a problem, but he was just so sweet. And he said, "Did everybody get here on time?" And the room went crazy. I mean, people were like rolling over the desk.
And you look like a freaking magician at that point.
The question was, were they there on time the next meeting?
Yeah.
It's like, and I said at the end of the meeting, I said, "Who knows who's coming next week?"
Yeah.
Right.
And but he stayed and he did all these little magic tricks and with cards and things, and he had some poems and jokes, and he spent like 45 minutes. And everybody in the room came to me afterwards. That was like the most unbelievable, amazing moment.
The funny part is you made his day. That's the funny part of the story. No, but here's the thing is, and what people don't realize in this story, but Cory and I'm sure Siobhán, like listening to it, it's because Dan's so humble about it. But like, even though Muhammad Ali is one of the greatest, maybe the greatest ever, but and what a legend! But you still made his day. You brought him into your world.
He had fun. Yeah.
No, I know, but the point is, it's really nice to hear you say that. But at the same time, listening to the story, it's cool to hear it from your perspective. Because my perspective, it's like, you made that guy's day. You're like, you want to know my urinal story? I have one famous urinal story. I'm in with my friend John Garabedian from the open house party. I don't know if you remember him. Yeah. He's on the radio. We went to see the Eagles. Irving Azoff was there. All right. I'm in the bathroom. The Eagles are on. And like, I noticed there's like one other guy in the bathroom because I'm washing my hands. I go to the first place to wash it and it doesn't work. I go to the second one, it doesn't work. And then I go to the third one and it works. And so I wash my hands, and then the guy gets out, and it's Taylor fucking Hawkins from the Foo Fighters. And like 2 days later, they were playing Fenway Park. And I said, and he goes to the first one. I'm like, "Bro, it doesn't work." And he goes to the second one. I'm like, "Bro, it doesn't work." I'm like, and I look at him like, "Why don't you trust me, man?" And I'm like, "I'm not trying to fuck with you, Taylor Hawkins." He's like, "You know who I am?" I'm like, "Of course I do. I'm going to see you in a day." And I didn't have tickets. But the serendipity of it all, my friend Eric, who was in my band at the time, says, "Hey, man, you want to see the Foo Fighters? I got an extra ticket." And I ended up seeing them. But really, it's because he had the night off because Dave Grohl was having a baby. So Taylor was like, "I'll go see the Eagles." Because Irving Azoff also manages the Foo Fighters. And then it all comes back around. That's my urinal story. But you made Muhammad Ali's day. I ruined Taylor Hawkins' night. He was like, "Why did that guy have to accost me in the bathroom?" Muhammad Ali probably told all his friends, "This was the best day of my life."
But you both washed your hands.
We did.
That's what really is important.
Well, Siobhan's the one being recognized in the bathroom. See, that's the difference.
Right.
It's not about who she knows. It's about who knows her, because it's the different. Because she's the star. Dan manages people like her. The only reason Dan even got duped into doing this, the only reason he got 2020'd into being a part of this band is because he saw her photo and then realized how good she was when he listened to the freaking record.
Oh my God.
And then Scott's, who our manager, is a good friend of his, and we just clubbed him like a seal, and now he's here. So thank you, Dan.
No, but what I was, not to totally go back to like a while ago, but I had a thought that I thought was important to say. And you were asking how, about remembering so many specific details. And I say this because my mom runs a marketing agency and she's in PR. And I think that there is absolutely a relation between being good at marketing and being a good storyteller and remembering details. Because I feel like that's entirely what you do. Like my mom's the same, she will be able to recite like very specific details about a scene. And because it's about telling a story, that is the talent. And I just wanted to say that. We're going to have to bring Anne-Marie on, by the way, just as a side note. Anne-Marie Cronin needs to, this is like a call to arms. Both, first off, Brock Richards, the lesser half of Shabrock, who's, again, dreamy. So I don't want people to misunderstand what I'm trying to say. That's going to be the punchline of every show. Lesser half, dreamy. But dreamy.
Yeah, well, he is. Well, listen, Siobhán, we all know. We have eyes. We have ears. We're aware of your talents. But, so it must, living in your shadow must hurt. But Brock does it well. And Anne-Marie, it makes sense if you meet Anne-Marie. So I want to give some foreshadow to the future of 2020 that Anne-Marie and Brock, you've been officially 2020 on the air, that you guys need to come on and talk to us and tell us some Siobhán stories, because as much as Michael Jackson is interesting, Steve Rubell and all this other stuff with Studio 54, that's Liza Minnelli, it's interesting. We want to know the real thing, which is about you, Siobhán.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Well, she will tell some great stories.
How did you get so good?
A lot of bullying.
like Michael Jackson.
So it works. That's what we're trying to say here.
No, I'm kidding. No, you know that I've always loved music, but no, I've had some very like strong figures in my life that are contentious.
Anne-Marie could beat you up, though. Can we at least agree on that? So she always expected a lot. Bully, but she could beat you up because Anne-Marie Cronin, just her personality is bigger than the room.
She's she's a very complex character because she's a very loving person, but she's also very demanding, and it's sometimes hard to tell which side is speaking.
The Scottish brogue is demanding just by itself. So what she's saying doesn't even really matter. It's more of the tone and the
well, she's just very intense.
Cadence.
She's very intense, but she's a creative person. She's a great storyteller, and she's always got really huge ideas. So I think she wants everyone else to be on her level. And
how about Brock? But see, Brock is such a dichotomy because Brock is like the quiet, quietly, but tall drink of water in the corner that just writes his poems by himself. But you go talk to him and he has a lot to say.
Yeah, he's an introvert, but incredibly detail oriented, very passionate. Yeah, just a different.
You've seen anything that he's built from the cars to the fields to the trees to the things he's whittled out of sandalwood with his hands. He's
someone that if he knows what he wants to do, he will do
it. Does he pasteurize the milk too?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to these episodes.
You have some big ideas here.
Yeah. So as we're coming to the home stretch here, we got about 10 minutes left, but I guess Dan, I know that you have, or you chair an organization, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about that and what you do and maybe how you got there from your career?
Right. I am the trustee of an organization called the Music Performance Trust Fund. And we get this micro royalty from every record sold, from streaming, from all the major labels. So I get,
Wait, did you just 2020 all the record labels into donating to your cause?
We get a little over three.
Is this like Office Space where they put you get a fraction of every penny? And
I didn't realize he's like the Kaiser Sose of the music.
We get a few $1 million a year from the labels, and what we do is we and it's part of the labor agreement between the American Federation of Musicians and the major labels. And so our money then goes out where we give grants to musicians to perform at senior centers, at school programs, parks programs, all over North America. This last year we did 2,712 events that we funded.
Hold the phone. 2,700. First off, why couldn't you? I wouldn't say that 2112 is better, but Rush just for that. But 2,712 events, Dan, and you're going. So what does that equate into dollars?
That equated to about $1.1 million, and a lot of small grants. It's all big.
Can we say thank you? Hold on, stop for a second, Dan. I'm going to be rude and interrupt you as always. Can we say thank you as I interrupt you rudely on behalf of all the musicians that are struggling out there for doing what you do? Because I every single time I talk to you, it hurts my brain in a great way, knowing the things that you do and the clout that you have, and the fact that you could even wheel and deal something where you can give back. You're like the Robin Hood of the corporate music world, and you know all the people on the way back down. You know all those people. They're all your boys. I got a guy. Michael Jackson's guy. You're Charlie Daniels' guy. You're our guy. So thank you, Dan.
And what this is we're working with a lot of professional musicians that coming from jazz world, from classical, from pop bands. The union musicians tend to be, as a group, lean a little older. So, a lot of times there's, employment struggles, so this money becomes a little something extra, for these people. And the union locals apply for them through I have two incredible ladies who are the grant managers, and
Their names, please, so we can give them a shout out.
It's Vidri Blackburn and Samantha Ramos. And
we love you here. Thank you for doing the
awesome.
hard work. They're the ones that do the hard work. We thank you.
They do.
Is there a way that people like outside of getting royalties can support any of this? Is there like some way?
No, we don't, I mean, we do on occasion get, we've had some musicians, in their estate leave us certain amounts of money.
So Siobhán
we do not
have
solicit.
Her royalties from Starset revert back to you.
Yeah. We don't solicit for funding, which is wonderful for me. I'd be a bad fundraiser, I just have a hard time doing that. So it's great for me because what we're trying to do all the time is figure out how to creatively put our money out on the street. We do some awesome things. We're involved in the French Quarter Festival, which is really all about the music from New Orleans musicians.
Right.
A lot of people go to Jazz Fest, but the performers at Jazz Fest are from all over the world.
Right.
But the French Quarter Festival are the Zydeco bands and the brass bands and and the Cajun bands, and it's really cool.
You're making me hungry, man.
Those are people who need money, that's where
incredible.
our money, so
that's great.
So we have a lot of fun with that, but right now, because of the virus, we're shut down.
2020 for real.
We can't. Yeah, we've been 2020, and so what I'm trying to do is set up a streaming platform in which we can give our grants to have musicians perform streaming events. And I'm dealing with all the politics of union scale and performing rights organizations. That there's a lot of stuff. We're coordinating with 185 union locals across North America. So it's.
I just want to ask one last question, and then I know we're at our time, and I'm sorry, but Dan, do you ever say to yourself, "I've done enough"?
Well, it's fun to look back at the stuff that you do, but to me, it's all a puzzle. So why would I give up the puzzle? The challenge, it's fun. It's, you get to know new people. You get to meet like really crazy people in bands. And,
don't talk
like you,
Ben.
And it keeps me a little younger than I am, and so that makes that's great. Sense. But I love the challenge, and I love the challenge of that connection between an artist and an audience, and the music business, there's a lot of gatekeepers, and I like to try to find the ways to eliminate that, and bring that connection together. And that's fun,
They're like the key master.
I can't imagine not doing it, on some level,
Sure.
It's but it's I'm not the young guy that used to do it 20 hours a day. It's I mean, when I first came to New York, I was afraid to go to sleep. I was going to miss something. I mean, that's there was
New York.
It's like we would go to 4 or 5 shows a night. We'd be at Danceteria. We'd be up in Harlem at the Apollo. We'd be at the Garden for the Isley Brothers. You'd be
just watching Les Paul every
the Mud Club or Fat Tuesdays. And,
what an era.
So it was a phenomenal era. We're so lucky, and so many people that I work with. When we connect, it's like, oh my God, didn't we do this at the right time? I mean, and for all the hijinks that was going on, there was no pictures. There was no,
the best.
There was probably a lot of embarrassing stuff that happened for a lot of people back then.
Well, maybe that's why your memory's so good, living in the moment. You're not relying on the technology to log it for you.
But the thing that I think is so crazy is that, I mean, listen, you did 2,713 live shows last year, and now this virus has literally shut that down. And instead of being like, oh my God, the world is over, which is when I'm like, if I would lose 27 shows, which is more shows than I'd played in my entire life, at least paid. But it's like 23 more shows than I've ever been paid for. You have decided, sir, I'm going to change how this is done. I am going to figure out through all the regulations. I'm going to go cut through the red tape, and I'm going to give this money still.
That's
even
right.
though
That's what we're going to do.
Isn't there anymore? I'm going to take the money. I'm going to give it to other people, and I'm going to still bring the music to the people.
That's it.
And on that note, I want to say, Dan, I'm going to cut you off.
Okay.
Because this is how we work at 2020. You get 2020.
Okay.
I'm saying, no, I'm kidding. You can say whatever you want.
I was just going to say we're also doing an essay contest, or not contest, scholarship.
All the guitar players just tuned out. They're like, bye.
I'm into this though. That's awesome.
Of course you are. You overachieving.
And what it is, it's for students who are in a family where there's a musician who's, a breadwinner. And
Brock could write one.
To write an essay about the experience of being the child of a professional musician.
Wow.
That's incredible. That's so interesting. That's amazing. Wow.
So I think we're going to get some amazing stories, and we're asking them all to give us a video of them reading their essays. And so I want to put together like a podcast or do things with that. Maybe it's even a spoken word book or, an ebook. Or,
I hope Nicole Richie does it.
And so anyway, we're about to launch that. And I put about $100,000 behind that to give out.
Only $100,000 behind that one?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, if there's any way we can help spread the word in our mild capacity, I'd be
honored. He doesn't want to solicit. He doesn't even want to solicit. He doesn't even want our money.
I know, but that's why he can
skim off the top.
He can 2020 the rest of us into soliciting for him.
Yeah,
that's true.
Ben, I want you to go back to college. And then
my mom's been saying that over and over.
And then we can help you.
I have 8 years of college. Did you know that? I went to school for 8 years.
That's good.
I went to Northeastern. We'll give a shout out to the Huskies. I went to UMass Boston, and then I moonlit at Worcester State College before I realized I didn't like huff and glue. So, that's where I'm from. So I'll throw that out there. And apparently I said Worcestershire the other day, and someone told me that Richard should have corrected me. That just means like a town or something like that.
But he's too polite though, so he's
not
going to correct you.
I learned that it's a cultural thing. So like I said, we might be like socially distant, but culturally relevant. I'm not even culturally relevant.
Because you talk over the person when they're trying to explain to you what's going on. Isn't that
the whole point of the show? Isn't that what Tucker Carlson does? Like he just sits there and talks over people?
Yes, you should aspire to be Tucker Carlson. And on that note, you've been 2020. Let's get the hell out of here.
Hey, thank you, Dan. Thank you guys so much.
Keep going, guys. You're doing a great thing. It's a lot of fun.
Don't encourage us. You guys just got 2020. Thank you so much. Check us next week.